The art of destroying your enemy without fighting them. It's a concept so powerful, so transformative, that it has the potential to revolutionize not just your life, but the very fabric of our society. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can I possibly defeat my enemies without engaging in combat? Well, my friends, not only is it possible, it's the most effective way to live your life. And by the time we're done here today, you will understand exactly how to master this art. Your real enemy isn't who you think it is. It's not your competitor in business. It's not your rival at work. It's not even that difficult person in your life who seems determined to bring you down. No, your true enemy is far more insidious and far more dangerous. Your real enemy is mediocrity. It's the voice inside your head that whispers you can't do it. It's the comfort zone that keeps you trapped in a life of unfulfilled potential. When you learn to destroy these internal enemies, the external ones become insignificant. So, how do we begin this journey of destruction without confrontation? It starts with personal growth. You see, when you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you're already winning. While others are busy plotting against you, you're busy plotting your own success. That's the first step in destroying your enemy without lifting a finger. Imagine for a moment that you're a tree. Now, trees don't fight other trees for sunlight. They don't throw punches or engage in heated arguments. No, they simply grow taller. They reach for the sky, spreading their branches, soaking up the sunlight, and in doing so, they naturally overshadow the competition. That's what personal growth does for you. It elevates you to a level where the petty conflicts and rivalries that once seemed so important fade into insignificance. But let's dig deeper. What does it really mean to grow? It means investing in your education. Not just formal education, mind you, but life education. It means reading books that challenge your thinking, attending seminars that expand your horizons, surrounding yourself with people who push you to be better. While your enemies are wasting time gossiping and complaining, you're sharpening your mind, becoming more valuable with each passing day. I remember a young woman who came to me years ago. She's frustrated because her colleagues at work were constantly trying to undermine her efforts. She wanted to know how to fight back, how to give them a taste of their own medicine. I told her, young lady, don't fight them. Outgrow them. She looked at me like I had just spoken in a foreign language. But then I explained, every minute you spend fighting is a minute you're not growing. Instead of plotting revenge, plot your success. Become so good they can't ignore you. And you know what? That's exactly what she did. She started arriving at work an hour early to read books on her industry. She volunteered for projects nobody else wanted. She went above and beyond in everything she did. And within a year, she was promoted to a position where those who tried to sabotage her were now reporting to her. That's how you destroy your enemy without fighting them. But it's not just about professional growth. It's about personal integrity. You see, when you live with integrity, when your words align with your actions, you become untouchable. Your enemies may try to spread rumors or tarnish your reputation, but if you have built a solid foundation of trust and respect, their words will fall on deaf ears. Have you ever met someone whose character was so strong, whose reputation was so sterling, that no amount of gossip or slander could bring them down? That's the power of integrity. It's like wearing an invisible armor that protects you from the arrows of your adversaries. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but what if my enemy is relentless? What if they won't stop coming after me? Well, let me share a little secret with you. The most effective way to neutralize an enemy is to turn them into a friend. I know, it sounds crazy, but hear me out. There's an old saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But I say, why have enemies at all? Instead of viewing someone as an adversary, try to understand them. What are their fears? What are their aspirations? More often than not, you will find that your enemy is just someone who feels threatened or misunderstood. I once knew two business owners who were fierce competitors. They would undercut each other's prices, steal each other's clients, and badmouth each other to anyone who would listen. It was a war that was destroying them both. Then one day, one of them had an epiphany. Instead of fighting, he invited his competitor to lunch. At first, the other guy was suspicious, but over a meal, they started talking, really talking. And you know what they discovered? They had more in common than they realized. They both struggled with the same challenges, dreamed of the same successes. By the end of that lunch, they weren't enemies anymore. They became partners, and together, they built an empire. That's the power of empathy and understanding. When you take the time to see the humanity in your enemy, you disarm them in a way that no weapon ever could. You transform the energy of conflict into the energy of collaboration. And in doing so, you don't just neutralize an enemy, you gain an ally. Not every enemy can be turned into a friend. Some people are just determined to bring you down. So what do you do then? You focus on your own lane. You see, most people fail because they're too busy looking at what everyone else is doing. They're so focused on their competition that they lose sight of their own path. Imagine you're running a race. If you're constantly looking over your shoulder to see where your opponents are, you're going to trip and fall. But if you keep your eyes focused ahead, if you run your race with all your might, you will cross that finish line while others are still trying to figure out how to trip you up. This principle applies to every area of life. In business, don't waste time worrying about what your competitors are doing. Focus on providing the best value to your customers. In your personal life, don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday and strive to be better. When you adopt this mindset, something magical happens. Your enemies become irrelevant. While they're busy trying to tear you down, you're busy building yourself up. And before they know it, you have left them in the dust. Now, I can already hear some of you protesting, but what about justice? You might ask, don't we have a responsibility to stand up to those who wrong us? And you're right, to a point, justice is important. But true justice isn't about revenge. It's about restoration. It's about creating a world where enemies become unnecessary. Some of the greatest leaders in history, people like Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr., they faced enormous opposition, dangerous enemies, but they didn't respond with violence or retribution. They responded with love, with nonviolent resistance, with a vision of a world where everyone could win. And in doing so, they changed the course of history. You have that same power within you. When you refuse to stoop to the level of your enemies, when you respond to hatred with kindness, to pettiness with magnanimity, you're not just taking the high road. You're paving a new road altogether. But let's get practical for a moment. How do you actually implement these principles in your daily life? It starts with your mindset. Every morning when you wake up, instead of thinking about who you need to defeat today, ask yourself, how can I improve myself today? How can I add value to the world around me? This shift in focus is subtle but powerful. It moves you from a scarcity mentality to an abundance mentality. Instead of viewing life as a zero-sum game where for you to win, someone else has to lose, you start seeing opportunities for everyone to succeed. Next, practice radical responsibility. This means no more blaming others for your circumstances. No more pointing fingers. When something goes wrong, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to grow? This doesn't mean you're at fault for everything that happens to you, but it does mean you take responsibility for how you respond. Remember, your enemies don't determine your life. You do. They may create obstacles, but you decide whether those obstacles become stumbling blocks or stepping stones. By taking responsibility, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim and become the author of your own story. Another powerful strategy is to master the art of indifference. Not indifference in the sense of not caring, but indifference to the negative energy others try to direct at you. When someone tries to provoke you, to draw you into their drama, simply refuse to engage. Your calm in the face of their storm will unnerve them more than any retaliation ever could. This doesn't mean you become a doormat. Far from it. You still stand up for yourself. You still assert your boundaries, but you do it with composure, with dignity. You respond rather than react, and in doing so, you maintain your power. Nothing silences critics like undeniable success. When you commit to being the best at what you do, when you strive for excellence in every area of your life, you create a force field around you that repels negativity. They're top performers in any field. Athletes, business leaders, artists, do they worry about their detractors? No, they're too busy breaking records, innovating, creating masterpieces. They've risen above the fray. That's where you want to be. But excellence isn't just about outward success. It's about character. It's about integrity. It's about doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. When you live with this level of integrity, you become bulletproof. Criticism bounces off you because you know who you are and what you stand for. Now I want to address something important. This approach, destroying your enemy without fighting them, it's not easy. It requires patience. It requires self-control. There will be times when you want to lash out, when you want to give them a taste of their own medicine. In those moments, remember this. The sweetest revenge is living well. Every time you choose growth over grievance, every time you choose to rise above rather than stoop low, you're winning. You're destroying your enemy's power over you. And ultimately, that's the greatest victory of all. But here's the real secret, the truth that will set you free. When you master these principles, when you truly embody this philosophy, you will find that you no longer have enemies, because you will realize that the only real enemy you ever had was the limiting beliefs inside your own mind. You will look at those who once opposed you with compassion. You will recognize that their attacks, their negativity, their attempts to bring you down, they all stem from their own fears and insecurities. And instead of anger, you will feel gratitude. Gratitude for the lessons they taught you, for the strength they helped you develop. Imagine living in a world where you have no enemies, where every challenge is just an opportunity for growth, every setback a setup for a comeback. That world exists, my friends, and it's waiting for you on the other side of this mindset shift. Holding on to grudges, nurturing resentment. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It doesn't hurt them. It only hurts you. When you forgive your enemies, you free yourself from the prison of bitterness. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean allowing yourself to be mistreated. It simply means letting go of the negative emotions that bind you to that person or situation. When you forgive, you take back your power. You say, what you did to me no longer has the power to control my emotions. And here's the beautiful thing about forgiveness. It's not something you do for the other person. It's something you do for yourself. It's a gift you give yourself. A key that unlocks the chains of resentment and sets you free to pursue your own happiness and success. The power of focus. You see, what you focus on expands. If you're constantly focused on your enemies, on the people who've wronged you, guess what? They'll take up more and more space in your life. But if you focus on your goals, on your dreams, on the positive impact you want to make in the world, that's what will grow. It's like the old Cherokee tale of the two wolves. A grandfather tells his grandson that there are two wolves battling inside each of us. One is evil, full of anger, jealousy, and resentment. The other is good, full of love, compassion, and peace. The grandson asks, which wolf wins? The grandfather replies, the one you feed. Which wolf are you feeding? Are you feeding the wolf of resentment, constantly thinking about how to get back at your enemies? Or are you feeding the wolf of growth, focusing on how to become the best version of yourself? The choice is yours, and it's a choice you make every single day, with every thought you entertain, with every action you take. Choose wisely, because your choice will determine not just the outcome of your battles, but the quality of your life. You want to really destroy your enemies? Serve them. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but hear me out. When you serve others, even those who've wronged you, you rise above the pettiness of conflict. You demonstrate a strength of character that's truly unassailable. If someone's determined to be your enemy, and you respond with kindness, with service, how long can they maintain their hostility? It's like trying to punch a cloud. There's nothing to hit, nothing to fight against. Your act of service disarms them completely. But more than that, when you adopt a service mindset, you shift your focus from what you can get to what you can give. And in doing so, you tap into a wellspring of power and fulfillment that no external enemy can ever touch. I once knew a man who was constantly at odds with his neighbor. They argued about everything: the fence line, the noise, the kids. It was a constant battle. Then one day, this man's neighbor fell ill. And you know what he did? Instead of celebrating his enemy's misfortune, he mowed his lawn, he took out his trash, he cooked meals for his family. And you know what happened? That act of service melted years of hostility. By the time the neighbor recovered, the war was over, not because one side had defeated the other, but because they'd found common ground in human kindness. That's the power of service. It turns enemies into friends, conflicts into cooperation. It's a force so powerful that no enemy can stand against it. When you have a compelling vision for your life, a clear sense of purpose and direction, petty conflicts and rivalries lose their power over you. You're too busy pursuing your dreams to get bogged down in battles that don't serve your higher purpose. The great visionaries throughout history, people like Thomas Edison, Marie Curie, or Steve Jobs, do you think they wasted time and energy fighting enemies? No, they were too focused on bringing their vision to life. Their passion, their purpose, was so strong that it eclipsed any opposition they faced. You have that same power within you. When you connect with your deepest passion, when you commit to a vision that's bigger than yourself, you tap into a wellspring of energy and determination that can overcome any obstacle, neutralize any enemy. So I ask you, what's your vision? What's the dream that's so compelling, so exciting, that it makes all your current problems and conflicts seem small in comparison? Find that vision, commit to it with every fiber of your being, and watch as the landscape of your life transforms. Now let's address another crucial aspect of destroying your enemies without fighting them: the power of self-mastery. You see, most conflicts, most enmities arise from a lack of self-control. We lash out because we're angry. We seek revenge because we're hurt. We engage in petty rivalries because we're insecure. But when you master yourself, when you gain control over your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, you become invincible. No external enemy can defeat a person who has conquered themselves. This self-mastery begins with self-awareness. Start paying attention to your thoughts, your reactions, your triggers. When you feel the urge to fight, to lash out, to engage in conflict, pause, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, is this reaction serving my higher purpose? Is it aligned with who I want to be? In that moment of pause, you reclaim your power. You create a space between stimulus and response, a space where you can choose your reaction rather than being controlled by it. This is where true freedom begins. Cultivating this self-awareness isn't easy. It requires constant vigilance, a willingness to look honestly at yourself, to confront your own shadows. But the rewards are immeasurable. As you develop this skill, you will find yourself less and less affected by the actions of others. You will become like a mountain, unmoved by the winds of conflict that swirl around you. But self-awareness is just the beginning. The next step is self-regulation. This means developing the ability to manage your emotions, to channel your energy in productive ways, It's about responding rather than reacting, choosing your battles wisely, and maintaining your composure even in the face of provocation. I think of self-regulation as a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Start small. The next time someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of honking your horn or muttering under your breath, take a deep breath and let it go. When a colleague makes a snide comment, instead of snapping back, pause and respond with kindness. These small acts of self-control may seem insignificant, but they're laying the foundation for a strength of character that will serve you in all areas of life. They're training you to be the master of your own reactions, a skill that will make you virtually invincible in the face of any enemy. Most conflicts arise from a narrow view of the world. We get so caught up in our own perspective that we fail to see the bigger picture. But when you cultivate the ability to step back to see situations from multiple angles, you gain a tremendous advantage. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. When you're at the base, all you can see are the obstacles immediately in front of you, the steep incline, the jagged rocks. But as you climb higher, your perspective changes. Suddenly, you can see the entire landscape. What seemed like insurmountable obstacles from the ground now appear small and insignificant. The same principle applies to your conflicts. When you're in the thick of a disagreement, it's easy to get tunnel vision, to see only your side of the story. But if you can step back, if you can look at the situation from a higher vantage point, you will often find solutions that weren't visible before. This shift in perspective doesn't just help you solve conflicts. It can prevent them from arising in the first place. When you make a habit of considering other viewpoints, of seeking to understand before being understood, you create an environment where enemies have difficulty taking root. But how do you develop this broader perspective? It starts with curiosity. Instead of immediately judging or dismissing those who disagree with you, get curious. Ask questions. Seek to understand their point of view. You don't have to agree with them, but by making an effort to see the world through their eyes, you expand your own understanding and open up new possibilities for resolution. Travel is another powerful way to broaden your perspective. When you expose yourself to different cultures, different ways of life, you realize that your way of seeing the world is just one of many. This realization breeds humility and empathy, two qualities that are kryptonite to conflict. When you have a strong sense of purpose, when you're committed to something bigger than yourself, petty conflicts and rivalries lose their power over you. You're too focused on your mission to get dragged into unnecessary battles. Have you ever noticed how the most successful, most impactful people seem to rise above the fray? It's not because they don't face opposition. It's because they're so committed to their purpose that they don't have time or energy to engage in pointless conflicts. What's your purpose? What's the mission that gets you out of bed in the morning, that fills you with excitement and determination? If you don't have an answer to that question, finding one should be your top priority. Because when you have a compelling why, you can endure almost any power. Your purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It could be as simple as being the best parent you can be or making a positive difference in your community. What matters is that it resonates deeply with you, that it aligns with your values and ignites your passion. Once you have identified your purpose, let it guide your actions. Use it as a filter for your decisions. When faced with a potential conflict, ask yourself, does engaging in this serve my higher purpose? If the answer is no, you have a powerful reason to walk away, to rise above, to find a more constructive solution. In today's rapidly changing world, the person who stops learning becomes obsolete, but the person who commits to lifelong learning, who constantly seeks to expand their knowledge and skills, becomes unstoppable. If you're always learning, always growing, always improving, how can any enemy keep up with you? While they're stuck in old patterns, old ways of thinking, you're evolving, adapting, finding new solutions to old problems. This commitment to learning doesn't just make you more capable, it makes you more resilient. When you have a learner's mindset, setbacks become opportunities for growth. Failures become valuable lessons. Even your enemies become teachers, showing you where you need to improve, where you need to develop greater strength or skill. But learning isn't just about acquiring information. It's about applying what you learn, about turning knowledge into wisdom. It's about being willing to challenge your own assumptions, to question your beliefs, to step out of your comfort zone and try new things. Make learning a daily habit. Read books that challenge your thinking. Seek out people who have different perspectives than your own. Take courses, attend seminars, explore new fields. The more you learn, the more you grow, the more impervious you become to the attacks of any enemy. Most conflicts arise from a perceived scarcity of resources. We fight because we believe there's not enough to go around. Not enough money, not enough recognition, not enough opportunity. But when you tap into your creativity, you realize that resources aren't just finite things to be divided up. They can be created. Creativity allows you to see possibilities where others see problems. It enables you to find win-win solutions where others see only win-lose scenarios. When you approach conflicts with a creative mindset, you're no longer limited to fighting over existing resources. You can create new resources, new opportunities, new ways of moving forward that benefit everyone involved. But creativity isn't just about solving problems. It's about preventing them from arising in the first place. When you're constantly innovating, constantly finding new ways to add value, you make yourself indispensable. You create a situation where others are too busy appreciating what you bring to the table to even think about being your enemy. So how do you cultivate creativity? Start by challenging your assumptions. Question the status quo. Ask what if. When faced with a problem, don't just look for the obvious solutions. Brainstorm wild, seemingly impossible ideas. Often the most innovative solutions come from combining ideas in unexpected ways. And remember, creativity isn't just for artists or inventors. It's a skill that can be applied in any field, any situation. Whether you're a business owner, a parent, a student, or an employee, there are always opportunities to bring creative thinking to bear on the challenges you face. In our individualistic society, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we have to face our battles alone. But the truth is we're stronger together. When you build strong, positive relationships, you create a network of support that can help you weather any storm. When you have strong connections with family, friends, colleagues, mentors, you have people to turn to for advice, for support, for different perspectives. These connections can provide a buffer against attacks, a sounding board for ideas, a source of strength when you're feeling weak. But it's not just about what others can do for you. When you focus on building positive relationships, on adding value to others' lives, you create an environment of goodwill. You build a reputation as someone who's supportive, who's trustworthy, who's worth knowing. And in doing so, you make it much harder for enemies to gain traction against you. So invest in your relationships. Be generous with your time, your knowledge, your support. Look for ways to add value to others' lives without expecting anything in return. Build bridges instead of walls. Because in the end, the strength of your network can be your greatest defense against any enemy. Life will throw challenges your way. You will face setbacks, disappointments, failures. The question isn't whether these things will happen. It's how you will respond when they do. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity, to keep moving forward even when things get tough. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about learning from it, growing from it, using it as fuel to propel you forward. When you cultivate resilience, you become like a palm tree in a hurricane. While other trees may snap under the force of the wind, the palm tree bends, it adapts. And when the storm passes, it stands tall once again. That's the power of resilience. But resilience isn't something you're born with. It's a skill you can develop. It starts with your mindset. Instead of seeing challenges as insurmountable obstacles, view them as opportunities for growth. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this? Practice self-care. Take care of your physical and mental health. Build a support network you can lean on in tough times. Develop coping strategies that work for you, whether it's meditation, exercise, journaling, or talking to a trusted friend. And remember, resilience isn't about never falling down. It's about always getting back up. Every time you face a challenge and come out the other side, you're building your resilience muscle. You're proving to yourself that you can handle whatever life throws your way. I want to leave you with this thought. The greatest battle you will ever fight is the battle within yourself. Win that battle, and no external enemy can touch you. Lose it, and no amount of fighting will bring you victory. So go forth, my friends. Grow, learn, improve, excel. Let your success be your revenge. Let your character be your armor. Let your integrity be your weapon. And watch as the world transforms around you. Not through conflict, not through combat, but through the irresistible power of a life well lived. Remember, you have within you right now everything you need to destroy your enemies without fighting them. You have the power to turn obstacles into opportunities, to turn adversaries into allies, to turn setbacks into comebacks. Use that power. Embrace it, live it, and one day you will look back on this moment as the day everything changed, the day you stopped fighting against the world and started working on yourself. The day you realized that the key to destroying your enemies was becoming a person they couldn't help but admire. This be your battle cry. I will grow, I will not attack. I will attract, I will not destroy, I will create. Say it with me. I will not fight, I will grow. I will not attack, I will attract. I will not destroy, I will create. Carry these words with you. Let them guide your actions. Let them shape your character. And watch as the world bends to the indomitable power of your spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, the choice is yours. Will you continue to fight battles that leave everyone wounded? Or will you rise above, growing so tall that those who once sought to cut you down can only look up in awe? I believe in you. I believe in your potential. Now it's time for you to believe in yourself. Go out there and destroy your enemies. Not with fists, not with weapons, but with the unstoppable force of a life lived with purpose, passion, and unwavering integrity.